Hey everybody, it's Ben, and I'm back once again with another video for you guys. Today I'm going to be reviewing Convergence, The Question, Issues 1 and Issues 2, written by Greg Rucka, art by Callie Hamner, and colouring by Dave McKaig. Dave McKaig you may recognise from being the colourist on Scott Snyder's American Vampire. Callie Hamner has done some work on the Shade 12-issue maxi series for James Robertson, with James Robertson for DC Comics. And Greg Rucka you may recognise from Lazarus, Gotham Central, Checkmate, this mini-series, and a whole Queen and Country, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So this mini-series focuses on the female version of The Question, who is Renee Montoya, who inherited the mantle of The Question from the former holder, Vic Sage, after his death, in the pages of 52, which Greg Rucka also co-wrote along with Mark Waid and Grant Morrison. So the first issue opens and we focus in on Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, who is trying inadvertently and unsuccessfully to get some would-be thieves to leave a pharmacy which they're about to loot. And unfortunately for the guys, they don't really know who they're dealing with. They think they can take him, but unfortunately things do not turn out well for the would-be thieves, and Two-Face easily dispatches them and even says, "I wasn't intending for things to go this way, but you forced my hand, and this is just how things turned out." And you think for a minute, when you see Two-Face trying to crack open the safe, that you think he's going to take the supplies for himself and sell them on the black market. But it turns out that he's actually, his aid has actually been enlisted by Renee Montoya, The Question. And Renee is actually working with Two-Face to help some of the sick and elderly at St. Luke's Hospital. And here you see Renee returning to the hospital with the supplies, where we actually greeted by Helena Bernalli, or Huntress, who it turns out is actually in a relationship with Renee. And upon returning to their, I guess, hideout during the Convergence, Helena expresses concern over Renee's enlisting of Two-Face's help, and the fact that she shouldn't trust him. And unfortunately for Renee, she has this uneasy and sort of bizarre relationship with Two-Face, which actually began in the pages of the Half a Life storyline in Gotham Central, co-written by Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker, with art by Michael Lark, where Two-Face basically ruins Renee Montoya's life. He outs her as a lesbian. He ruins, or has a large role in the almost ruining of her relationship as a police officer in the Gotham City Police Department. And he sort of just develops this weird obsession with her. But over time, I suppose their relationship grows beyond that, and they have an uneasy alliance and almost friendship between the two. And there's just some fantastic dialogue on the part of Greg Rucka between Two-Face and Renee in her costume as The Question, where it's implied, where we see Two-Face flipping his coin and holding a gun to his head, it's implied quite heavily that the guy's become so dependent on his coin, which, for those of you who don't know, is a silver dollar, I believe, and it's scarred on one side, and it dictates his decisions, whether they be for good or evil. And it's implied that he's become so dependent on his coin that even if he were to flip tails and holding a gun to his head, he wouldn't think twice about, putting the gun to his head and pulling the trigger, if that's what the coin sort of dictated in terms of his decision. And there's also some really great, either sleight of hand, or it's quite hinted at heavily, that Two-Face's coin might not actually be his coin. It might be a loaded coin that Renee's passed on to him to make sure that he stays alive and he doesn't try to essentially end his own life. And unfortunately, during their conversation, Brainiac announces to all the alternate realities within the DC universe that he's essentially going to make them all fight against one another for their survival, and he's only got the power supposedly to save one world. And it's at this point where Two-Face actually manages to temporarily get the best of Renee, and he clocks over the head with his handgun, and he decides to escape and take matters into his own hands. And it's at this point where Huntress turns up, basically telling Renee, "I told you so." They come up with the idea and the plan to go after Two-Face, but Huntress basically says to Renee, "We're not going anywhere without backup," and backup arrives in the form of Kate Kane, otherwise known as Batwoman, who is a former flame of Renee's that was first introduced in, or the relationship was first introduced in the pages of Batwoman Elegy, which was also written by Greg Rucka with art by J.H. Williams III in the pages of Detective Comics. Which leads us nicely into issue 2, whereby in this issue we have all three of these heroines confronting their relationship with Renee, in terms of what the relationship stands for, and there's also some confrontations, or not confrontations as in physical, but sort of coming to grips with the terms of their sexualities, especially in the case of Helena and her relationship with Renee. There's some really fantastic dialogue between all the characters, especially some nice little sort of quips and lines from Batwoman regarding Helena's relationship with Renee, and also just little snippets of dialogue here and there that it's hinted at pretty heavily that Kate might still have a soft spot for Renee, in spite of the fact that they've been separated now for quite a while. And there's also another really great line where our Two-Face, the Two-Face that's scarred, actually asks the alternative version of Harvey Dent. He asks him, "Can you still tell right from wrong?" And the alternative version says, "I try to," and then Two-Face just responds with, "I'm glad one of us can," which I thought was a really great line on the part of Two-Face, on the part of Greg Rucka. And again, there's some really fantastic dialogue between Batwoman and Huntress, especially when Huntress says, "You could have left a few guards for me to dispatch, it's only polite, you know," and Kate just comes out with, "I don't have to be polite to you." That's not exactly what she says, and that's not all she says, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys to read these issues, because these are just fantastic comics, and I cannot recommend them highly enough. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but let's just say that it's a happy ending on the one hand, but then the other half is really heartbreaking and really somber. It actually, there's a great callback to the pages of Gotham Central and the Half-Life storyline, especially in terms of where that storyline left off with Renee and her relationship with her parents. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything. I want you guys to pick the Gotham Central first volume up, and also these Convergence issues tie-ins, and read them for yourselves. The writing by Greg Rucka, the artwork by Cully Hamner, and the colouring by Dave McKeague is just absolutely absolutely fantastic, and I cannot recommend these issues highly enough. Greg Rucka just has this really uncanny and awesome ability to write these LGBT characters within the pages of his stories, where possibly in the hands of another writer, the LGBT aspect and the relationships aspect might feel contrived or tacked on, or purely being diverse purely for the sake of it, and just not feeling fluid and real and three-dimensional. But that is certainly not the case with Greg Rucka. He just does a masterful job at nailing the relationship between these characters and making the relationships feel real and genuinely making you feel invested in the characters and caring about what happens to them and where they go from here and where their relationships go, and etc, etc. So that is my review of Convergence, the question, issues 1 and 2. And this is the Gotham Central In the Line of Duty Volume 1, or Gotham Central Volume 1 In the Line of Duty, which collects the In the Line of Duty storyline as well as the Half-Alive storyline. As I mentioned, co-written by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka with artwork by Michael Lark. Absolutely fantastic stuff, and if you're a fan of any of the creators or police shows like Law and Order, The Wire, The Shield, cannot recommend this highly enough, and I cannot wait to actually sit down and actually review this for you when I get around to it. So thank you as always everybody for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, by all means feel free to leave a rating and leave a comment in the comment section below, and if you haven't already, by all means please feel free to subscribe. And until next time, this is Scambit896 signing off, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.